Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling a question that honestly puzzles leaders every single day. Have you ever wondered why your highly skilled employees sometimes just totally underperform? Meanwhile, average employees with the exact same resources are out there achieving these exceptional, off-the-charts results. Well, the answer lies in the invisible architecture of organizational behavior. And today, we're going to decode that architecture and give you the real practical tools you need to inspire true performance.
So let's talk about motivation. It isn't just some fluffy corporate buzzword, it's the actual, literal engine of an organization. Technically speaking, it's the internal and external force that stimulates people to work enthusiastically, stay committed, and consistently strive to hit those organizational goals. It is the force that directs and sustains human effort. But despite it being a primary job for every manager, so many leaders are still operating on totally outdated myths about what actually drives human behavior at work.
Okay, let's dive right in by challenging one of the biggest management myths out there with a very direct question. Does money actually buy hard work? We're going to explore this by looking at 5 practical, real-world business cases that perfectly show how motivation actually functions out in the wild.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the money motivation myth. Second, recognition versus reward. Third, the promotion paradox. Fourth, burnout and remote work. And finally, we'll wrap up with the modern team playbook.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the money motivation myth, and why those big paychecks just aren't enough. Picture this. You've got an employee with incredibly generous compensation. We're talking an excellent salary, attractive benefits, the whole package. A lot of managers assume this automatically guarantees enthusiasm, right? But what's the actual output? This person is frequently missing deadlines, avoiding any real initiative, and demonstrating minimal commitment to your goals. Why does that happen? Well, it's because motivation extends way beyond financial rewards.
The crucial takeaway here is that money definitely gets them in the door, absolutely, but it does not always inspire long-term commitment or high performance. To stay truly driven, employees desperately need other things. They're looking for meaningful work, clear paths for career advancement, challenging assignments, supportive leadership, and a real sense of autonomy. If you are only focusing on the paycheck, you're literally only solving a fraction of the motivation puzzle. You have to balance financial and non-financial factors. Moving right along to Section 2, recognition versus reward and the true power of appreciation. Let's look at 2 rockstar employees side by side who hit the exact same level of high performance. Now, employee A gets a financial cash bonus. Employee B, on the other hand, receives public praise from senior management, sincere appreciation during a company-wide meeting, and the opportunity to lead an important new project. Now, both are being rewarded, sure, but employee B's reward satisfies deep psychological needs. It taps right into their inherent need for achievement, for status, and for self-esteem. This right here is huge. Recognition creates a much stronger emotional connection with the organization than financial rewards alone. People inherently want to feel respected, They want to feel valued and appreciated for their specific contributions. The most successful organizations out there don't pick between the two. They combine strong financial incentives with robust recognition programs to create truly sustainable long-term motivation. That brings us to Section 3, the promotion paradox. This is all about great skills leading to poor leadership.
We've all seen this happen, right? An organization takes its absolute highest performing salesperson and promotes them to sales manager. And almost immediately, the entire team's performance just crashes and burns. Why? Because promoting your top technical talent without realizing that leadership requires an entirely different set of skills is a recipe for disaster. Being great at sales, or coding, or marketing does not automatically translate into being a great leader. Managing people is a 50-50 split. It requires technical competence, yes, but equally it demands managerial capabilities. We're talking emotional intelligence, coaching, conflict resolution, delegation, and decision-making skills. You absolutely must invest in leadership development before moving your star players into management.
All right, shifting gears to Section 4, burnout and remote work, and how the modern workplace has fundamentally shifted. Let's track a pretty tragic but all too common timeline of employee burnout. You start with a highly committed employee. In month 1, they're taking on every assignment, working excessive overtime, and performing exceptionally well. But fast forward to month 3, productivity starts to dip and stress skyrockets. By month 6, they are facing complete physical and emotional exhaustion, and they're actively looking to quit. Piling on excessive workload without adequate recovery completely destroys motivation. Sustainable drive depends entirely on managers maintaining a healthy balance between high-performance expectations and their team's actual physical and mental well-being. And of course, that well-being has to be managed across entirely new environments these days. The shift to hybrid and remote work has completely rewritten the rules of employee motivation. Think about traditional supervision, which relied heavily on constant monitoring and just physically being in the same room. That's becoming obsolete. When your team is scattered across different locations, you need a completely different playbook. Motivating remote teams requires deep trust, outcome-based evaluation, digital collaboration, and really consistent feedback. Managers who focus on empowering their people rather than constantly breathing down their necks are the ones achieving much higher productivity today. So how do we actually put all this into practice? Let's get into Section 5, the modern team playbook, and mastering motivation.
At its core, the science of motivation boils down to a pretty straightforward chain reaction. The spark happens when employees believe that their hard work will directly lead to good performance, when that performance is fairly rewarded, and, this is the most important part, when those rewards satisfy their unique, diverse personal needs. Because everyone is different. Some people value job security above all else, some desperately want flexible work arrangements, and others are hungry for greater responsibility. An effective manager figures out these individual drivers instead of just assuming a lazy one-size-fits-all approach. If you want a concrete game plan, organizations can drastically boost motivation by following these 4 actionable steps. Step 1, establish crystal clear goals and performance expectations so everyone knows exactly what winning looks like. Step 2, provide regular feedback and public recognition to build that vital emotional connection we talked about. Step 3, ensure absolute fairness and transparency in rewards and promotions, which helps you avoid that promotion paradox. And Step 4, actively promote work-life balance and mental health so you don't fall into the devastating cycle of burnout. Now, if you're sitting there wondering if this soft skills approach actually moves the needle on bottom-line results, just look at the modern powerhouses. Companies like Google, Microsoft, Infosys, and Tata Consultancy Services are investing massive amounts of capital into these specific areas. We're talking employee engagement initiatives, continuous learning, leadership development, and comprehensive wellness programs. They aren't doing this just to be nice. They're doing it because they know for a fact that highly motivated people are the unshakable foundation of long-term success, greater innovation, and lower turnover. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to really challenge your own approach. Motivation is not just about writing bigger checks. It's about truly understanding human needs, creating meaningful work, and developing leaders who do way more than just supervise. So take a hard look at your own practices and ask yourself, are you just managing your team, or are you actually inspiring them? Because mastering motivation means building a workplace where people genuinely want to perform at their absolute best. Thanks for hanging out with me on this deep dive, and I hope you can take these principles back and ignite your own teams.